Richardson Wynn says Zion W. Williamson. Wamastagner says Zion, you've been streaming since like 3 go to bed. How we doing, Richie? Unknown account says Zion.
It hasn't quite been that long, but long enough, huh?
How we doing, YYAHRR?
But the real question is, are you following? You see me grinding, you stay pulling up to the chat, but you don't follow. That's the real question. What's going on?
Says Zion.
What's going on? The trolls are after me, chat. The trolls are after me. It's crazy.
How we doing account is no longer available.
I was streaming like 2 minutes ago, and I had to end the stream because it got restricted. Like I got on, was in for 2 minutes, and boom, restricted. I posted on my story if you want to see it. It's actually a different world we live in.
Doing Kojo Jose.
Have a good time.
How we doing, Matthew Bowman? Live how Fast Soldier says Cassie. How we doing, SMTH Apter? How we doing, Cat God Sleeps?
Alright.
Evesai says Zion. Larry the Lobster.
Freedom.
How we doing, Kyle Duggan?
Lies from the tablecloth.
Evesai says he ate the table. How we doing, Fast Soldier?
He ate the table. Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time. Dancing in the desert, blowing up the sunshine. Chat, let's get to 10K likes. Tap that screen, baby. Tap that screen, share. We're going to react to some videos. I gotta get more of these out there, man. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff I talk about is hard for people to conceptualize until they get like a real world sort of breakdown of it. That meets them where they're at with their social media stuff. They always tend to pour. See if the YouTube is fine. I wonder if I'll get banned again for using race comments to get money. That's what I got suspended for last time. Somebody reported me and said I was using race comments to make money. These kids are so stupid. Like, goddamn.
How we doing, Spice God?
Alright, anyway, let's do it. Okay, so we're gonna be reacting to this clip. This is from like CPAC. I'm not sure if any of y'all know what that is, but if you're familiar with CPAC, it's like a convention that conservatives, I think it's like Conservatives Something of America convention or whatever, but it's a convention where a bunch of conservatives get together and espouse retrograde, just like regressive ideology. They espouse like traditionalism, American exceptionalism, white Christian nationalism, and a whole bunch of other mumbo jumbo. But let's see what they got to say, chat. Let's see what the groundbreaking takes are that are gonna move the country into the next phase of humanity and push us forward as a people. All right. See what they got to say. I'm gonna lower the music real quick. I might have to put this up so y'all can hear it a bit better and lower my mic. put this to like 85. 85, that's 86. All right, that's fine. 85. Do another sound check. Move this up. All right.
Says Zion, what's her favorite team?
My favorite team is the Celtics and the Lakers. Oh, all right, let's do it. Folks, if you're not interested in like understanding the social world around you, go somewhere else. This is not your time. This is the time for the people who care about those things. Okay?
Around the dinner table about these issues every day.
Click on it again.
If you are not speaking with your family around the dinner table about these issues every day, it is high time to start. If you're not encouraging your children to grow up and have the courage to get married and have kids, more kids than they can afford before they think they're ready, it is high time to start. It is these choices, like deleting our dating apps and quitting birth control. If you are not...
Okay, so this is quite the place to start. I'm so inflammatory, bro.
Joshua.
So cool thing. The person in the clip commented, and so this is a rare opportunity because rarely do people comment when clips are taken of them, but the person commented, and we have that to go off of. So let's watch the clip, and then let's see what she says about it. Man, they're exhausting. They are exhausting. And hiding behind the family trope is just another way to obfuscate. All right. We're going to move the chat over here. We don't need this many messages in there. We need a couple. That's fine. Too many cooks in the kitchen at this point, honestly. All right. So, let's watch it again.
Speaking with your family around the dinner table about these issues every day, it is high time to start. If you're not encouraging your children to grow up and have the courage to get married and have...
Okay, so she's saying she's advising parents that they should be on a daily basis communicating to their children that they should themselves have children and get married and have more kids than they can afford. Let's say that again.
More kids than they can afford.
They should have, and mind you, the conservative party, the Republican Party, often espouse and paints themselves to be the party of fiscal responsibility, right? That's what the Republican Party has been saying for God knows how long. The party of fiscal responsibility. Well, telling people to have more kids than they can afford doesn't sound very fiscally responsible to me. We're not going to be playing something right now. I'm going to be reacting to some clips. Okay, so this is just another classic example of Republicans, and well, we're talking about Republicans right now, but oftentimes I feel like when I talk about Republicans, the partisans will come in the chat and be like, "But the Democrats doing too." Like, shut up. Yeah, of course they do, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Republicans are supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility, but here this person who is at this convention of Republicans is saying people should have more kids than they can afford. Okay. And apparently that's a courageous thing to do. All right, not very fiscally responsible, and also strange advice, but let's continue.
Before they think they're ready, it is high.
Okay. They should not only should they have more kids than they can afford, but they should have kids before they think they're ready. So not only should you be fiscally irresponsible, but you should also be parentally irresponsible. You should have kids when you're not emotionally ready, when you're not seemingly maybe physically ready, and certainly not when you're financially ready. So you should just like be an irresponsible member of society, is what this person is advocating for at the convention of Republicans. This is what these are the words coming out of her mouth. All right.
High time to start. It is these choices, like deleting our dating apps and quitting birth control. If you are not
Put in birth control. So don't be responsible, and be intentional about when you start a family, but rather just throw caution to the wind. Don't have children when you're ready. Have them before you're ready. Have them before you can afford them. This is the advice coming from this person. And let's see what she says. In her, oh my God, you guys are so annoying.
Malo Pictor says stop ignoring us, bro. How we doing?
Let's see. Dude, I hate the kids who come in here with Zion comments and then like are just begging for my attention. Anyway. Alright, yeah, you can leave, bro. Like, fuck, like, what? Anyway. You seem ingrained from people to watch your live. Shut up. Alright. So let's see what she said in response to people posting this clip. The caption in the clip, to give you the full context, says CPAC speaker really got on stage and told people to have more kids than they can afford, which is what she did. You saw, like, she's saying that in the clip. This is not pro-family. This is brain dead advice from people who will also fight paid leave, affordable child care, health care, and higher wages. This is true. The Republican Party are against all those things. The Republican Party is against parental leave. The Republican Party is against affordable child care. The Republican Party is against universal health care and increasing the wages. And so here you have somebody who's advocating for people to put themselves in a position where they cannot meet the needs of their family members, where they are not financially prepared to have families but should have them anyways, where they might not be physically or emotionally prepared to have families but should have them anyways. Those are the words coming out of her mouth. Now let's see what she has to say for herself in the comments. Hi, thanks for sharing this message. Couple of things. Wouldn't call myself a trad wife, whatever that's insignificant, never have. I'm a working mom or business, yeah, whatever. I'm certainly do but certainly do believe in traditional values, whatever the so let's put a pause in that. Oftentimes, conservatives will use the talking point of traditional values, and this works and pulls well with huge swaths of the population. But let's get into the weeds of what are traditional values. What do you mean when you say traditional values? Well, traditions are marked by practices that have remained from the past, right? So practices that are long-standing. So that's all a tradition is. It's a long-standing practice, a long-standing convention. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's morally sound. It doesn't mean it's rational. It just means it's been around for a long time. That's all tradition means. And so when we take tradition, that understanding of it, which is what it is, and values as values tied to tradition, it's kind of a strange combination, because values are more marked by how we kind of organize how we think about our moral standing in the world and in life, and how we carry ourselves. And so if you're saying how you think about your morality and how you carry yourself is simply informed by what's been around the longest, how am I supposed to respect that? How am I supposed to respect that? Right? People obviously don't think about it in those terms because everyone is of the field of thought of, it's not that deep of the field of thought of, you should never actually critically consider anything. But that's all that's saying, is my values are informed by whatever has been around the longest, not whatever is the most morally sound, not whatever is the most logically salient, but rather whatever has been around the longest. And that is an appeal to authority. That's all that is. And of course it is. This is part and parcel for the Republican Party and conservatives. And so it begs the question, well, what are these practices that have been around for so long within America, especially within the conservative sphere of America? It's patriarchy and the subjugation of women's bodies. It's white supremacy. It's imperialism. It's nationalism, and it's American exceptionalism. And so your values are all tied to these power systems, and that's somehow respectable. Okay, let's continue her response. Second, how dare I have the audacity to encourage people to embrace the beauty of family and the joy of motherhood when the world is screaming at us to not have kids, right? No one is screaming at anyone to not have kids. That's absurd. No one is screaming at anybody to not have kids. That's not a thing that's happening. She made that up. Also, saying that people should have kids before they are ready. Not
speaking with your family around the dinner table about these issues every day. It is high time to start. If you're not encouraging your children to grow up and have the courage to get married and have kids, more kids than they can afford before they think they're ready, it is high time to start.
More kids than they can afford before they think they're ready. That is not to encourage people to have kids because of the beauty of family and the joy of motherhood. That's to encourage them to put themselves in a financial trap. These people understand that when people have kids and do not have the means to afford them, they are tied and more subservient to their employer. They are easier to manipulate because they are in this they're in this economically and this financially destitute and impoverished situation, because the poverty wages that they're making that already cannot sustain their lives is now being spread incredibly thin. And the Republican Party knows that. The elites know that. Hell, the Democrats know that. They also serve the elites. And they want people to be more desperate. And the more mouths you have to feed, living on poverty wages, the more desperate you are. That's why they put this lady up there. I'm not saying she doesn't believe what she's saying. They put her up there because she believes what she's saying. She's a tool. She's a pawn like the rest of them. But what she's advocating for is to put yourself in a financially destitute situation. She literally says, have kids before you're financially ready. I mean, that is insanity. That is insanity. And again, this is the same party that espouses and purports to be the party of fiscal responsibility when we should pass a universal healthcare system. They say we can't afford it, and we're the party of fiscal responsibility. Well, you're also the party of telling people they should have kids before they're financially ready. When we talk about universal higher ed, they say we can't afford it, and we're the party of fiscal responsibility. Well, you're also telling people to have kids before they are socially and emotionally ready. That's insane. And so I say this all to say it's all a grift. It's all a grift. None of it is congruent. It's all contradictory. None of it is consistent. The values are non-existent. They're all a matter of maintaining these power systems that exist to divide groups in the population. That's all this is. And she's simply another example of it. She's simply another pawn of the capitalist class and their political class minions. And when I say political class, I'm talking about the politicians in the Republican and Democratic Party alike. Okay, that was our first clip. Any questions? Avery, appreciate you. Advice for getting over a breakup. Accept that you're going to grieve and go through the stages of grief and look up what those might be. All right. Ooh, here's another good one. So I literally have like 1,000 clips saved up. I've been saving these up since like 2020, since I started thinking about how I would do this clips to react to. And now I'm just gonna go down and pick a random one. Like, I don't like rehearse these things. I don't, because I am always thinking about them. I don't have to prepare because I'm always preparing myself for these things. I'm obsessed with the issues because I'm obsessed with making our lives better. That's why it doesn't bother me when people come in here and they don't understand what I'm trying to do and they're put off by it. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. What I'm trying to do is it's bigger than me and it's bigger than you. So whether you like it or don't vibe with it, it makes no fucking difference to me. Okay. Let's choose another clip. So some of you will remember when Trump's first or second term started, and Elon bought his way into the administration to the tune of 20 million, I believe. They created this Doge task force, and the purpose of the Doge task force, as they said, is that the Doge task force was going to go out and they were going to find waste, fraud, and abuse, and save the American people money, and cut out all of these problematic bureaucratic actors, and really drain the swamp, and do all these great things that are gonna help Americans, but real Americans, you know, not the blacks and the gays and the Jews and the Muslims, but like real white purebred Americans. Yeah, like they didn't say that last part, but come on now, only fools are confused about where their stances lie. Okay, well, and this is clear in who they chose to do this. Now, for a task so serious as to slash federal government budgets for these very important issues, you're going to need people who are incredibly informed and incredibly versed in the purpose of these institutions, how they carry out their duties, by what means they vet things, and so on and so forth, right? Does this person look like, let me move the chat a little bit. Just before I play the clip, chat, does this person look like they've been around the block long enough to have the background requisite of such a task? Question. Quick question. Yes or no? Does this person look like they have the background requisite for such a task?
I am tired of seeing the Zion shit. I know you're fed up, UNC. How we doing? Why?
It's whatever, man. The answer is no. This kid's like 22 years old.
I mean, I would not know.
Yeah, well, you need to have the background to do such a task. You have to be at least like 30 years old and haven't studied this thing your entire fucking life and worked in federal government for at least like 5. You have to be like at least 35. This person is not 35, but like, okay, one could argue that like you don't necessarily need to be old, you just need the experience. Well, joke's on us, he doesn't have the experience. Let's listen.
You don't regret that people might have lost important income to support their lives?
No. I think it was more important to reduce the federal deficit from 2.
Okay, so he's talking about like, I don't care who lost their jobs or whatever. What was most important was reducing the deficit. Okay. How do you know? I just told you how I know. I know that the task that they expressed, the purpose of the institution, the purpose of the task force requires innately so these things. And this is what I mean, like, and we need critical thinking. It's like, okay, again, oh my god, it's this. I was watching a video yesterday that talked about it is infinitely more difficult to disprove something that's bullshit, because I can see in his face that he's younger than me. And nobody younger than me can possibly have that experience just by virtue of the way our systems work. Unless he got to college when he was 14 years old and then went right into working for the federal government at the age of 18. That's not happening. And I doubt that's the fucking case. And he will tell you it's not the case.
K. Dillon says, don't think that's a fair assumption.
It is a fair assumption. It is a fair assumption. First of all, I've watched the video and it's confirmed, but I didn't need to watch the video to know that. I didn't need to watch the video to know that because I can critically think. And that sounds like a cop-out, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You think about the variables. What are the variables present? And this is what I was explaining. What are the variables? The variables are as follows. 1, what is the express purpose of the task force? And what does that entail? That's another variable. What is the purpose of the task force? What does that purpose entail? These are your variables. Okay. The task force says it was going to look through what the federal institutions were doing and cut cost as to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. These federal institutions, and here's another variable. What is the purpose of the federal institutions? How do they carry out their duties? What do they do? This is another variable. So you have to conceive of that. Well, how large are these institutions? They hire millions of people. Their budgets are billions of dollars. The bureaucratic procedures are endless. And so another variable is you would need somebody who can conceive of these things, who knows the inner workings of these organizations, of these institutions, how they use the money and what procedures they go through. For somebody to have the background to do that, they innately need to be fucking old. Why? Because it takes a long fucking time. That's how I know. Because I conceive of all the possible variables by putting into context what necessarily needs to be the case, as I've just spelled out. That's why it is a fair assumption. It is an absolutely fair assumption. Because when you have the context, you pull the variables from the context. What needs to be the case here? As I just said. That's how I didn't have to confirm his age or anything about him to know this person couldn't fucking possibly do that job. And he will say so himself.
$2 trillion to close to zero.
Did you reduce the federal deficit?
No, we didn't.
Okay, so first of all, he says it was more important to reduce the deficit to zero. And then he was asked, well, did you do the task you set out to do? He said no. Okay, so they failed. They failed. Point blank, they failed. They failed. They failed. They did not do the thing. Okay. He will continue to be questioned. Let's listen to his responses.
This is a history of the HIV/AIDS prison movement and its legacies in the United States. My book project narrates how activists fought the convergence of HIV/AIDS and incarceration.
Okay. The interviewer is walking him through the history of this medical pandemic within the AIDS virus and how that unfolded in history and how this federal institution was working to understand it as to address the issue. Again, to adequately police that, which was the purpose of this institution or this task force, to adequately police that, you would need an extensive knowledge of these issues. Does this person fucking look like they can possibly have that? You don't have to fucking do some deep dive to know that. Because to have that knowledge, you have to at least have a doctorate level fucking understanding. And because of the nature of our system, most people with a doctorate level understanding of things are on the older side. Why? Because you have to go through high school, you have to go through college, and then you have to go through another 6 years of college. So unless this person is a 1 in a million fucking genius, that isn't the case. Again, pull the variables from the fucking context.
From inside and outside prisons across the Reagan through Clinton years, and argues that this organizing holds legacies in the prison abolition movement of the 1990s to today. This is one of the grants that you or Mr. Fox identified as craziest at NEH, is that right?
That's right.
Why did you identify this as one of the craziest grants?
Because it references feminist and queer insights into prison abolition and LGBTQ studies.
Any other reasons?
No.
Examining military service from the margins.
We're just going through things that happen in society and breaking them down. What this clip is about is members of the Doge task force were interviewed about about what means did they make their claims as to which grants they were going to keep in these particular federal institutions, which grants they were going to slash, and so on and so forth. Okay, so they're being asked about that. How did you decide which grants you were going to keep? How did you decide which grants you were going to slash? That's what this is about. The issue here is these people cannot possibly be equipped for this task. They cannot possibly be equipped for this task. And yet they were given this power and authority that resulted in the dismantling of critical infrastructure and the ruining of hundreds of thousands of people's lives. And that fucking matters. And we need to understand how it happened and why it was allowed to happen and what it means for our society, what it says about our society. And is this a pattern? And the answer is, it is a pattern. Let's continue. I am not equipped. I would never accept this job because I don't have the requisite knowledge. This person doesn't fucking either. But he still took the job and ruined hundreds of thousands of people's fucking lives. Somebody put him in this role knowing he was unequipped. Why?
Says at Nathan, well, when people look like other people, almost everyone thinks it.
Series will bring together veterans and community members to examine the experiences of service members who identify themselves as female, Black, Native American, LGBTQ, or an immigrant, the dynamics, reasoning, and strength behind serving a country that does not always serve you in return. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
You and Mr. Fox identified this as one of the craziest grants at NEH?
Yes, it appears so.
Why did you do that?
Because it explicitly says LGBTQ.
Do you have any?
So all the reasonings he's given thus far is that any grant that in any way mentioned LGBTQ, this is just like a homophobic, like he's asked, what did you use to discern which grants you should keep and which grants you should not? And he's basically like, if it said anything LGBTQ, we didn't keep it. It's just blatant homophobia. That's his credential. He's fucking homophobic. That's his credential. And so he's put in place to make these decisions that impacts hundreds of people's lives.
History and, like, let's say, scholarly peer review?
No.
Okay.
Okay, he's asked, does he understand how scholarly peer reviews work? He says no. He doesn't.
Says so if no one who without the experience could understand, how would any be able to fathom a reason?
So if no one who without... Okay, so I don't understand that question. The fact of the matter is there are people with the experience to make decisions on these things. They exist. They exist. They've been in, they've done the work. They have the experience. They exist. They were not the ones who were tasked with doing this. That is the issue. They were not the ones who were tasked with doing this. And that was purposeful. Why was this person tasked with doing this? Why did they feel it was appropriate for them to even do it? You guys are missing the point. He doesn't understand what peer review is and how it works.
This judgment call was made by
in any way that someone in their 20s with no experience with grants or federal government was making personal judgment calls about what grants to cancel?
No, I don't think it's inappropriate.
How are we doing ARC?
He was asked, do you think it's inappropriate for someone with no experience with grants, no experience with federal government, no experience with what the fuck a peer review article is, do you think that it makes sense for you to be making these decisions? He's like, yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine for me to be making these decisions, even though I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. How does this happen? How does this happen? And people will say it's not that deep. Don't talk about it. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives were ruined.
How we doing, La?
What do you mean why he said no? He said no, he doesn't think it's inappropriate, which is to say he does think it's appropriate for him to make these decisions. He does think it's appropriate for him to make these decisions. Though he has no experience in these things, he thinks it's appropriate for him to make these decisions. Is what just happened.
Why not?
Objection. I think a person can have enough judgment from reading books and being well informed outside of traditional experience to make judgment calls about obvious things like a grant that literally lists DEI in its description.
So there aren't. First of all, these aren't obvious things. Okay, that's one. Two, he's claiming, well, you don't need traditional experience because you can garner this information, or you can garner the requisite information to make decisions about these things through other means, like staying informed and reading books. Okay, now the interviewer is going to ask, did he indeed do that? Also, he says obvious things like DEI. He doesn't even know what that is.
To know whether it violates an executive order.
I'm sorry. I'm saying books because you said books. What books would you have read that would have informed your opinion on what grants to cancel based on DEI or not?
There were no books.
There were no books. He has no fucking background, no understanding whatsoever. And he thought it was appropriate for him to make decisions that ruined the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. This is white privilege. This is white supremacy. This is what it looks like. This is patriarchy. This is what it looks like. This is heteronormativism. This is what it looks like. The things that were canceled in these grants all had to do with programs that helped make America what it espouses to be. Helped make America closer to this state of liberty and justice for all, not just rich old white men. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion for everyone. That means you're not going to get discriminated against because of a disability. This is not to say you're going to get pulled into something. Yeah, there are no books. He didn't have an argument. Yeah, there are no books. He didn't read anything. He has no understanding, and he admits it himself. No understanding of anything. Yet he still thought and thinks it's appropriate for him to make these decisions. Insanity. Decisions that ruin the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. All of his claims had to do with if it was anything LGBTQ, I canceled it. If it was anything that related to DEI, I canceled it. Why? How are you making these decisions? I don't know. I'm just doing it. It's obvious. I have some innate God-given understanding of these things. The fucking hubris, the arrogance, ruining the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know his name, but he was charged. He was on the Doge task force, and put in place by Elon Musk to discern which grants the federal government should keep and which grants they should get rid of. And he got rid of anything that made the society more equitable. the topic at issue right now for this particular clip, the broader topic is how white supremacy and patriarchy intersects with all of the systems in this country. And we're using this clip as an example. This is a kid, and I do mean kid, who was given the power to decide who got funding and who didn't. And so he's being interviewed as to his background in these things and whether it's appropriate for him to be making such calls. He says it's appropriate and says he has no background in these things. This would never fucking happen if this person was not white and well connected. That's a fact. That's a fact. You don't get put in a position at the age of 22 to make decisions that impact the entire fucking federal government of the United States that would mean life and death for hundreds of thousands of people. Unless you fit this description under a white supremacist patriarchal system.
What are we talking about right now? How are we doing, Brian?
We're talking about the Doge Task Force. So this kid, Matthew Kavanaugh, was put in charge of approving or canceling grants, federal grants. And he's being interviewed here as to his acumen and whether it's appropriate for him to be making these calls. He says it's appropriate for him to be making these calls, and then says he has no background in any of these things. So how both of these things can be true is fucking beyond me. The broader topic is patriarchy and white supremacy and how it unfolds within the U.S. system and how it impacts people's lives. We can watch it again for the people just joining.
How are we doing, Cruzy?
No.
You don't regret that people might have lost important income to support their lives?
No. I think it was more important to reduce the federal deficit from $2 trillion to close to zero.
Okay, so he's asked, like, do you think, like how do you feel about all the people's lives who were ruined by you cutting all of these grants? He's like, I don't care. It's more important to reduce the federal deficit to zero. First of all, they did not reduce the federal deficit to zero. It did not happen. Okay. But he's like, I have no regrets, no remorse, whatever. My express duties were more important. The duties that they failed. Yeah, it didn't make a dent. It was a complete farce. It was a complete assault on marginalized groups. That's all it was. Let's continue.
Did you reduce the federal deficit?
No, we didn't.
Okay. He's asked, did you reduce the federal deficit? No, we didn't. Okay, so they failed. Interesting.
This is a history of the HIV/AIDS prison movement and its legacies in the United States. My book project narrates how activists fought the convergence of HIV/AIDS and incarceration from inside and outside prisons across the Reagan through Clinton years, and argues that this organizing holds legacies in the prison abolition movement of the 1990s to today. This is one of the grants that you or Mr. Fox identified as craziest in the age, is that right?
That's right.
Why did you identify this as one of the craziest grants?
Because it references feminist and queer insights into prison abolition and LGBTQ studies.
Any other reasons?
No.
Okay. He got rid of a grant, and his reasoning for that was that it mentioned feminism and LGBTQ. That's discrimination based on sex and gender identity. That's fucking illegal. He should be in jail. He's admitting to blatant discrimination. And his cutting of that grant ruined the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. There are real consequences. He's not in jail. He's living his fucking life doing whatever the fuck. But he's able.
Dylan says, well, he did say LGB studies.
What's your point?
How are we doing, Lane?
I don't understand that comment. Discrimination based on gender, which is fucking illegal. And
How we doing, Lorenzo?
that and only that. That's why he canceled the grant. Though he has no background in this stuff, no understanding of it.
Examining military service from the margins, the complicated service discussion series will bring together veterans and community members to examine the experience of service members who identify themselves as female, Black, Native American.
Yeah, no one, like, the law doesn't exist in the United States unless you're poor. Short of that, you're allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. Actually, we will watch another clip of that being true. Where if you are not someone who's poor, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Let's finish this clip though.
LGBTQ or an immigrant, the dynamics, reasoning, and strength behind serving a country that does not always serve you in return. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
You and Mr. Fox identify this as one of the craziest grants at any age?
Yeah.
K. Dillon says in the grand scheme of things is studies of it necessary, regardless if it only makes a little debt.
In the grand scheme of things, is studies of it necessary? It is necessary. It is absolutely necessary. Because there is bias within our system, and we need to understand how this bias impacts our citizens. If you want a country where people are free, you want to understand what are the things that make it so that people aren't free. If you don't care about that, then you won't study it. But if you care about that, you need to understand it. To understand it, you need to study it.
Yes, it appears so.
Why did you do that?
Because it explicitly says LGBTQ.
He canceled the grant because it explicitly says LGBTQ.
Yode says if you have to ask if it needs to be studied anymore, I feel like that speaks for itself. It should. V. How we doing? K. Dillon says where do the studies get you in the future?
The studies get you to mitigating the things that lead to discrimination against these groups, that lead to systemic discrimination against these groups. And again, if you care about a country where individuals in the society can pursue liberty and justice for all, you need to do that. It says it for itself. It's so exhausting, man. I got to find the video where this guy is talking about it takes infinitely more energy to disprove bullshit than it takes to make up bullshit. I can just like say whatever the fuck I want and make up all kinds of bullshit and it can happen in 2 seconds. But for someone to disprove that bullshit, especially to an audience that is not knowledgeable about these things, it's going to take them so much more work. It's going to take them so much more work because the audience that isn't knowledgeable is going to think, well, they both, I think grants should be pushed more for studies that are essential to working people's future. LGBTQ people are working people. Their safety is essential to their future. Their ability to not be discriminated against within the system is essential to the future. Right. Everyone is a working class individual, but everyone's identity isn't the same. And if you have a system where there's discrimination based on particular identities, you need to account for that if you want a system that is free and fair. Yeah, especially with TikTok, you can just lie and like if your audience is not a knowledgeable one, no one will care. What's up, baby? Yeah.
How we doing, Zay Press?
You okay?
V. K. Dillon says, so what's being thought in these studies? Yode says people don't bother to fact check in 2026. How we doing?
You see, this is a perfect example of it. This guy, like, this is a microcosm of what I'm talking about. This guy says some bullshit. I have to work this hard to refute it because the audience is not knowledgeable. He didn't have to work hard to make up the bullshit that he did. But I have to work 5 times as hard to disprove his bullshit. This is the fucking problem. The speed of misinformation is infinite. The speed of accurate information is a fucking turtle space.
How we doing at XXN?
I already answered this, brother. They are studying how people who are LGBTQ and otherwise are impacted systemically. So how are the laws on the books disparately affecting them? How the ways the laws are interpreted, how does that disparately impact them? You want to know that if you want to make a free and fair society. If you don't give a fuck about a free and fair society, then you can ignore the fact that members of your society are being mistreated by the fucking laws and how they're implemented.
How we doing, Uzi Badoozy?
No, I did not see news that came out an hour ago. Do you want to fill us in?
User says Francis Ngannou. Big fan, bro. Nice knockout last weekend. Uzi Badoozy says, what is this? Bottom feeder.
We were reacting to the Doge staffer guy who just like slashed hundreds of grants and ruined the lives of hundreds of thousands of people who has no background in anything. And he says it's cool that he did it.
Anything serious, just a few. Loud bangs, I doubt TikTok will let me say it FR.
Type it out and see if they ban it. But okay, so I was just talking about how laws are only applied. Have you studied it? Have I studied what? Have I studied how our legal system impacts LGBTQ individuals? Yes. This is literally what I went to school for. Also, you shouldn't. Yes, I did. And also, you shouldn't need to ask that question. You are looking for some kind of proof and ignoring the merit of my argument. You're not engaging with the argument. Engage with the argument. Do you indeed think that if members of the society are being discriminated against, that we should fucking do something about it? If the answer is yes, then you should be asking yourself, are members of the LGBTQ community discriminated against? Yeah, but the question speaks to the way you're thinking about the things I'm saying. And I'm saying the way you're thinking about it is wrong. And that matters. I know there's this huge way of thinking out there that says, oh, you can't say someone's way of thinking is wrong. Yes, the fuck you can. Yes, the fuck you can. Take it from a mathematics perspective. If I'm trying to solve a math problem and my approach is inaccurate, I'm going to get the wrong answer. I need to be able to conceive of the problem appropriately to get the right answer. I need to be able to use deductive reasoning. That's like most of math is deductive reasoning. I need to be able to apply that properly. If I can't, I won't get the right answer. And what you're saying tells me you're not thinking about it in a way to get to the right answer.
How we doing, Scout T? Gabe Hat says so.
And I know the way I'm talking is inflammatory. I know the way I'm talking makes people feel attacked. I know the way I'm talking pisses people off. I speak in a severe tone because it's fucking severe. Again, this kid who just admitted to not knowing a goddamn thing about anything that he made these huge decisions about impacted the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. They lost their jobs. They lost funding. People fucking lost their livelihoods. It matters. It matters. It's not something to pussyfoot about. People's entire fucking lives were destroyed. It matters. It's not something to beat around the bush about. We got to take it very fucking seriously. And because we don't take it very fucking seriously, it's allowed to happen willy-nilly. And then the people whose lives are torn asunder, they don't get a fucking press briefing. They don't get articles in the New York Times to talk about how their lives were fucking ruined. Everyone just moves on, and they have to pick up the pieces.
Government money that LGBT people used on their kids. How we doing, Covey?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Do one question: how has your life been ruined?
It didn't ruin my life. It doesn't have to impact me for me to care. It didn't ruin my life. It ruined other people's lives.
How we doing, Foot Sharp?
I need to find the clip.
K. Dillon
of
says, in your life, my bad, their life. How we doing, user?
where is this?
How we doing, Adrak PRT?
Just a fucking shit show.
Adrak PRT says, Zion, we miss you in the playoffs. How we doing, Gabe Hat?
I'm not gonna find it, am I?
Gabe Hat says, bro, want read my chats. How we doing, OVO bottom feeder? K. Dillon
What's
says,
your
like,
chat,
does it ruin
Gabe?
Their life, like in what way?
So what ethical framework do you follow? What ethical? I don't follow any framework.
How we doing, Josh?
I look at what's going on and sit with it and think critically about it.
How we doing, OVO bottom feeder?
How does it ruin the life? You know what? I need you to do some of the work. How does it ruin their life? Like, in what way? You conceive of all the ways it can possibly ruin their life.
Then asking how they're affected.
You conceive of the ways how it can possibly ruin their life. Given everything we just talked about, given all of the context I just gave you, you conceive of ways how something like this happening can adversely impact the lives of LGBTQ people.
How we doing?
You do some of the work. I'm not going to do all the thinking for you.
Says Zion, shut TS up, cuh. How we doing, Ethan?
Here's the clip. Okay, so my claim earlier was that
How we doing?
the laws are applied unequally. Poor people get the brunt of the law, while rich people get off with all manners of
Dylan
things.
says, I feel I am asking questions and you guys are arguing it.
I'm not arguing it. I just need you to do some of the mental labor. I need you to do some of the mental labor. This is a thought exercise. This is a critical thinking practice. Given the context and everything we just talked about, conceive of ways in which LGBTQ people can be adversely impacted by grants used to study LGBTQ issues being taken away. How does that hurt LGBTQ people or disabled people? If the grants to study these things are taken away, how might that hurt them? I need you to think about that. You don't need me to do it.
I am trying to show you that you're questioning the study's whole point.
After I've just expressed like 7 times why it needs to exist, which tells me you don't understand what I'm talking about. And it tells me that's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying agree with me, but understand what I'm saying. Your questions are not seeking to understand what I'm saying. Your questions are seeking to refute. Well, how can you refute without understanding? And nothing you've said shows me that you understand what I'm talking about.
Research needed for LGBTQ. How we doing, Jay?
I'm not going to get back into that because it's just going to go on forever and ever. And again, y'all can do some of the mental labor. I'm not here to do your thinking for you. You have the context. Think about it.
Gabe Hat says,
Think about it.
You already talked about it.
Think about it, though. Think about it. Literally, ask yourself that question and think about it.
Dylan says grants for them to study it or grants for the studies to be a thing. Duck Freg says
Grants for them to study it or grants for the studies to be a thing. Grants to fund the study of it. Grants to fund the study of how LGBTQ people are impacted within the system. Are you asking why that's necessary? Are you asking what it does? And again, you can conceive of these things yourself. Anyway, let's watch this other clip, and then we'll call it soon.
I think a dose of humility is something you really need.
Stabbed almost a dozen times.
I had to call my wife and tell her that I'm not
how they're affected in work-life discrimination.
coming home to my children because I'm bleeding out in my car on the way to work.
Blake Sharp is on the stand talking to the man that nearly killed him.
Mr. Scruggs took the use of my left arm for about 20 months. I couldn't even hold a coffee cup up.
This husband and father passed out behind the wheel of his car on the Howard Franklin Bridge back in
Yote says a Gabe had the guy from the last clip cut government grants for those studies.
So here's the problem. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna go down that route. Okay, so exhausted, man. I just don't think it's more important than other studies. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about what's more important. We're talking about that it needs to happen. We're talking about that it needs to happen. And your claim assumes that it's a situation in which that there's not enough money to go around and they are allocating these resources to more important studies. Well, I bet you the person who is negatively impacted by these things, such that their livelihoods can be made abysmal, will think it's very fucking important. Who decides? Who decides? And on what basis are the cuts being made? The cuts were being made just to get rid of anything DEI. And again, you are arguing for this position, which is, first of all, you should pause and think, why am I arguing for this position? What is my, I feel like you come from this point of, well, I'm just being the contrarian, but that's not what you're actually doing. You are advocating for the position that has been proven to do the harm. You're advocating for the position that did the harm. You're advocating for the position that did the harm.
K. Dillon says not arguing against Dave.
I'm not saying you're arguing against DEI. Well, first of all, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Pause. You definitely are, because everything you're saying supports what that kid did. Whether you're trying to or not is irrelevant. The claims you're making work to support that. First of all. Second of all, question why your base stance is to protect that position.
Decision on its importance was made on his own personal agenda bias.
On his own personal agenda bias. He has no background. He admitted it himself in any of these things. In any of these things. Yet here you are talking about, well, if it's important for this and that, you're pulling all these like hypotheticals out of thin air that again work to protect that position. Again, ask yourself why. Why is your default to defend that position, which is what your line of questioning does. But I'm going to move on because we can talk about this all day. All right. Here's a hypothetical for you. I just don't think it's more important than other studies in a perfect world. Have them all. You are invoking a hypothetical when you say other studies because you have no idea what these other studies are. That is a hypothetical. That is a hypothetical. That is a hypothetical. You are proposing hypotheticals to defend that position. All right. That's the last thing I'm saying about it. Let's move on.
Yote says the perfect world part 2. I don't get what you meant by that.
Poor people.
Says, well, my assumption if cuts are being there needed. Gabe Hat says, and the defect is still going up, so Doge didn't work.
Doge didn't work. Move on.
I think a dose of humility is something you really need.
Stabbed almost a dozen times.
I had to call my wife and tell her that I'm not coming home to my children because I'm bleeding out in my car on the way to work.
Blake Sharp is on the stand talking to the man that nearly killed him.
Mr. Scruggs took the use of my left arm for about 20 months. I couldn't even hold a coffee cup up.
This husband and father passed out behind the wheel of his car on the Howard Franklin Bridge back in 2023, causing a pileup. Sharp woke up to former Assistant U.S. Attorney Patrick Scruggs armed with a pocket knife.
So this guy is a former Assistant U.S. Attorney. Okay? The defendant is a former U.S. Attorney. And he's ruthlessly stabbing this guy. The guy who passed out in his car. So this person is in a vulnerable position. He's in danger. He's in danger. He passed out.
Always be the president's cabinet.
And what is the response of this person with power?
Says in Big Philly, you have just reached
This is his response: to ruthlessly stab the man. To ruthlessly stab the man.
Gabe had says at Yode _yes.
To my children because I'm bleeding out in my car on the way to work.
Blake Sharp is on the stand talking to the man that nearly killed him.
Mr. Scruggs took the use of my left arm for about 20 months. I couldn't even hold a coffee cup up.
This husband and father passed out behind the wheel of his car on the Howard Franklin Bridge back in 2023, causing a pileup. Sharp woke up to former Assistant U.S. Attorney Patrick.
Watch this. Watch the clip. Watch the clip.
Scruggs armed with a pocket knife.
You should thank God, too, that there was a police officer in traffic with us that saved my life. Because if he wasn't there, I would have bled to death.
Scruggs was arrested and charged with multiple felonies, originally claiming self-defense and
Self-defense. He claimed self-defense against a man who was passed out in his car. He got up, went to the man's car, and proceeded to stab him repeatedly. Claims self-defense. He woke the man up from stabbing him.
Big Philly says at a half-road rage.
and your ground.
I just want to say sincerely, I am very sorry for what happened.
A judge today called.
And this is the most bullshit apology I've ever heard in my entire life. I am very sorry for what happened. Notice how there is no ownership. Notice how there is no ownership. I am very sorry for what happened. Not, I'm very sorry for what I did. I'm very sorry for stabbing you. I'm very sorry for what happened. Completely foregoing any ownership. Okay, let's continue.
Calling Scruggs' plea deal.
Because you're giving a golden opportunity.
He's being given a golden opportunity. Let's listen to why this fucking judge is giving this guy who got out of this car, went up to a man who's passed out on the road and proceeds to repeatedly stab him. Why this guy is getting a golden opportunity.
Warning the formal federal prosecutor that violating his probation or bad behavior while in custody could send him to prison for decades.
It seems to me you forgot your role in this world on that day. Again, not a firefighter. You are.
He forgot his role in this world. That's why he's being given a golden opportunity. He forgot his role in this world. That is the judge's verdict. The man who got out of his fucking car and went up to a passed out man and repeatedly stabbed him forgot his role in this world and was given a plea deal and put on probation. He forgot his role in this world, chat. This fucking cuck. He forgot his role in this world. The man who got, I'm going to keep saying it because it's insane, who got out of his car, went up to another person's car. The person is passed out, takes out a knife, and proceeds to repeatedly stab the person. The verdict was he forgot his role in this world and was put on probation. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Attempted murder. Are you fucking kidding me? You think this would happen if this guy wasn't a former attorney general? You think this would happen if he was some poor person, some poor black kid, some poor Mexican kid, some poor white kid, no connections, some poor immigrant? You think this would happen? This is not a fucking justice system. This is a system of power, and you get to do whatever the fuck you want if you're powerful.
You're not paramedic. You are not special forces or anything.
And he's going to tell him all the things he's not because he forgot his role. So let me remind him of his role and give him a fucking plea deal.
Something like that, okay?
We're going to watch it again.
Humility is something you really need.
Stabbed
Watch it. Watch him.
almost a dozen times.
These are not like, this is a grown man. Look at his physique. Look at his size. Stabbing this person in the fucking body. This passed out man. He forgot his fucking role. You're not a firefighter. You're not a paramedic. Is this what fucking firefighters do? Do they walk up to passed out people in their cars and stab them repeatedly? Is this what paramedics do? What the fuck is this judge talking about? What the fuck is this guy talking about? He's got a robe on, so he's respectable. And his opinions matter. Get the fuck out of here.
Sorry to cut into this conversation, but I need to get groceries for the week. See you next time.
See you, Yote. See you. Why is he being treated like a child? Thank you. Because he has privilege.
Harry Mayes says we live on a floating rock at the end of the day.
Because he has privilege. He has male privilege. He has white privilege. And he has institutional privilege because he was the former attorney general. So he gets to fucking skate free. He gets to fucking skate free after assaulting somebody and almost murdering them. He gets a fucking plea deal and put on probation and gets to move on with his fucking life. They throw people in jail for decades for having some fucking hash on them, for having some fucking marijuana on them. They treat them like the scum of the earth. Ruin their fucking lives. But you can get out of your car and stab somebody 1,000 times and it's perfectly fine. The VOD is going to be on YouTube. I got to go soon, so I'm not going to rehash it all. You can check it out there, or Twitch. This is the state of our nation. This is the state of it. Ignoring that, downplaying it, pretending it's not real won't fucking change a thing. It won't help. It won't fix it. Grow some fucking backbone. See reality for what it is and figure out what we can do to make it what it's supposed to be. Because this ain't it. Y'all have a good rest of your night. I'll catch you later. We'll be on the stream tomorrow. If you missed, go watch the VOD. It's on YouTube. It's on Kick. It's on Twitch.
K. Dylan says bye.
GG's, and I'll catch y'all later. Dylan, catch you later, brother. UG, catch you later. Ben, catch you later. GG's, fellas.